Special edition episode of Scratch. Jenna and I are here fresh back from Cannes. So we are going to share some of the biggest takeaways all around AI, data, culture, personalization, what's going on at Cannes, our first official speaking slot this year. What else you got to say for the intro?
Fresh is maybe a stretch, but some good takeaways on retail media, data, who was not there this year, and some of our good friends.
Not short on opinions, yes. That is for sure. So stick around, enjoy the episode. Let us know what you think. I'm Eric Fulweiler, and this is Scratch, bringing you marketing lessons from the leading brands and brains, rewriting the rulebook from scratch for the world of today. Jenna.
What?
We're what? 3 days out from Cannes?
4 days out.
4 days out
4
from
days
Cannes.
Out. Yeah.
It was a trip. How was it for you?
I actually, unfortunately, I think that this was my best one yet.
You had a good time.
I actually did have a good time. Yeah.
I was struggling out there pounding the biz dev payment, and you were getting put up by ad tech vendors.
Yes, yeah. Thanks to our friends at Azerion. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you guys. # sponsored partnership. Yeah. Thank you so much. No, I feel like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it was still hard, but like, don't you remember the first year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hard doesn't mean that it wasn't easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this is something that we kind of like joked about of like, we're a real business, but we're what, 4, almost 5 years in now. Yeah. And people are starting to know who we are.
Yeah.
People are starting to take us seriously.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, but we're getting there. But more importantly, we're here to hopefully share some knowledge and insights and words of wisdom for our audience on the key things that we noticed and took away with us from Cannes. So should we start with one of yours?
Everyone is an ad network now. Everyone is an ad network. How the fuck I know I shouldn't, like everyone, hotel companies, airlines, everybody on transport, Duolingo. Oh my God, that poor guy in the owl suit.
I thought about that every time I walked past him.
Oh my God, the poor guy or gal in the Duolingo owl costume on the Quasette with the one tiny little vent on their suit in the 35-degree heat. How is everyone an ad network now? Like, I understand that like we're in lean times. Also, I feel like, did everybody you had a meeting with, every single person I spoke to agreed that we're in a recession, even if we're not.
I'm not sure if I heard anybody say the R word. And then also the chief content officer at Bloomberg Intelligence that co-hosted one of our events with us, he was saying that like macroeconomically, it's not as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. But it does seem like at least the marketing side of the world is feeling it.
I feel this like insistence that like the numbers are good somehow like overcomes the lived experience of like millions of people as a persuasive argument is why Donald Trump won the White House, because like the Democrats have never been able to figure out that like that doesn't fucking matter, right? Everybody that I talked to has like said the same thing of like things are taking forever to sign. So it does kind of make sense that, businesses are looking for additional, monetization avenues. Again, it would make sense that Riot Media. God, that's torture.
Is that really what it's called? It's Riot Media Network?
It's Marriott Media, and then they just bold the Riot part of Marriott. So it's Riot Media.
Riot Media.
Yeah, somebody tortured that one in a room. But I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, I mean, like, tourism is down, travel is down, like all these like kinds of things.
Yeah,
like,
where else can you make money?
Yeah, exactly. Is, for whatever else. But I just like wonder, like, it's just not possible to get all these things on media plans. That was my other takeaway of, I think we've abandoned all pretext, at least on the media side of things. I think we've abandoned all pretext of like effectiveness as a valid like sales tactic. It seems to be like all hands on deck for the smartly approach, which is just throw money at the problem and like just fly like advertising people to various places and just spend all this money on them. Because how the fuck else are you going to get on a media plan, like realistically? I don't know how all these ad networks, one, are ever going to consistently be able to appear on media plans, but then also like the reach and like actual effectiveness of those is never going to pop in bar some limited like use cases, it feels like. So I'm very curious to see what happens next year. Because my other takeaway was a bunch of the people that were there 2 years ago in kind of the first wave of we're AI powered, like LLM powered, were not there at all this
100%.
year.
I noticed that
There
too.
was a lot of those that were not here this year. So
Yeah, so that was the big one for me is that I feel like a year ago, so much of the conversation was about, look at all this cool shit that AI can do, right? And everybody was kind of like in this fervor and certainly in this hype cycle about like the potentials are endless, look at this, look at that, et cetera. And this year, there was still some of that, but more of the conversations were around how do we actually make this work for our business? So it was more of an effectiveness conversation because most people are still just trying to apply it to the existing model to drive efficiencies. And I don't think that most people are there yet. I think people are still kind of in the efficiency conversation, not seeing the ROI, not seeing the effectiveness, and really starting to question it. So the AI conversation, of course, was everywhere, but it was very different than it was last year. And of course, Cannes' take on it and the official kind of theme of the conference this year was around the role of humans and creativity within a world of AI, which I don't think is necessarily wrong, but I think it's like a very small part of it. We obviously are trying to build this kind of wave 2 model of how do you build and deploy marketing solutions that are built natively around the capabilities of AI, where you can do things that weren't possible before. And it's an entirely different set of constraints in producing and distributing marketing solutions than it was before. And I think, as we've talked about, like, I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve in how we're having those conversations and also what we've built with Rival Intelligence and hopefully pretty soon what we're going to be delivering for clients.
yeah, I felt a little bit behind last year and I feel ahead this year. Also, I did enjoy a lot of the shit talking on WPP Open and whatever the fuck Publicis is.
Well,
on
I mean, that was another one for me.
Everybody slagged those off. That made me feel good.
But WPP wasn't at the beach this year.
Yeah,
I mean, sign of the times.
Wait, no.
WPP beach.
Okay, but they had the thing next to Gutter Bar, and then they had the other one. But did you notice that VML was in big letters and WPP was in like light, like gray? Oh, did you look and see what happened to the share price? They like after Cannes. One of my friends who worked there sent me a screenshot. He's like, "What the fuck were you all talking about at Cannes?" No, I shouldn't laugh.
I read somewhere that like their share of advertising spend has gone from 44 to 29%. I think it was over the last 12 months. Like that, the 12 months thing might be wrong. I'm pretty sure the 29% is right. That is, I mean, it's the same trajectory that is just continuing, but it's really noticeable when you dip in and out of Cannes and you see who has the prime real estate on the beach. It's technology companies and it's the next gen holding companies. It's the brand techs, et cetera.
Yeah, I was like, even Publicis, who are still, I feel like, kind of enjoying their moment in the sun, as it were, like had a presence, but not the way.
What else?
I felt like the only real, not the only real use cases, but the dominant use cases for AI clustered around creative in the conversations that I had, which is surprising because I would assume that mine would skew more towards media. But like I said, they were predominantly around creative generation, what functions as the next generation of dynamic creative optimization. I think isn't even that was what the fucking the keynote talk that OpenAI gave, I think at the Palais was about.
Yeah.
For these kinds of things. I
thought
heard
it was basically give me all your money.
Well, yes, of course, but they have to do the window dressing portion of that. But I feel like I heard less about because a couple of years ago there was cognitive and a bunch of the other kind of the AI powered DSP and bidding and buying solutions, and I feel like there were less of those this year. I mean, again, it's a foregone conclusion that media buying is just simply not going to be human controlled, but that's what kind of always been the case certainly for much longer in media than it has, I think, in the creative side of things. So it feels like maybe that's just sort of background noise rather than a dominant kind of narrative or piece of budget line item that people need to set aside to buy. But yeah, I heard a lot less about that. All the kind of the AI stuff, I think, was more designed to make the creative folks sweat than the media folks, realistically. Heard a lot about, I could not have a single fucking conversation about measurement that did not involve the word incrementality, especially since now like Meta introduced like that into like, there are a couple other things. That was the other like word that I was like, I'm going to have to start having a drinking game for incrementality, but I didn't want to die. So.
Word of the year, incrementality.
Word of the year.
I'll give you another one that actually we haven't really talked about, but it's kind of been brewing in my mind. You said something when we were walking down, one of the walks that we were on when we were down there. So much of the industry is still building product solutions, right? There are these companies, like what was the company? It was started with an A, where you were like, oh, I really want to use them, but now we can basically just build what they do.
Oh, Adverity.
Adverity, right?
Yeah.
There was that. And then I had a bunch of conversations of people that build X for Y, right? Like some type of product for influencers or a product for, competitive intelligence or things like that. And obviously, we built Rival Intelligence, but Rival Intelligence is not a product. It's really more a platform. And actually, I think it's more of like a fundamental change to our model of how we operate in delivering marketing solutions. Because the thing is that the constraints that made products valuable of time, money, and expertise to build technology have been collapsed by AI. And so actually, of course, much like creative, you can get something that's pretty good by you or I vibe coding something. But to get something that's great, you do need expertise. However, I think that there's something really interesting in, much like that example of Adverity, not off-the-shelf products that are sold one-to-many, but actually bespoke technology and product solutions that are built for the brief specifically. Like that's kind of what we're doing, right? We just haven't really been talking about it. Like Rival Intelligence, the agents that we built is one side of it, but then the tech modules that we built have basically been our engineering team sitting with our subject matter experts of strategy, creative, and media and saying like, what are the needs of the client? What are the needs of the brief? We're going to build something specifically for that. So I don't know exactly how to talk about it. And we got to come up with like a good name. It's not really service as a software, but it's going to be like one of those types of things. So I knew you would like that. I said it's not that. I said it's not
No,
that.
it is now. No, it is now.
Look, you know how this works. Like I come up with a catchy thing that CMOs are going to like get hooked on, and you help me actually figure out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there is something to, compostable, ephemeral, like it's technology that is purpose built or personalized to the brief. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like that was the other thing is like, I know I've been wrong about the timing on this. Who knows when the economics of that will collapse, where it's like, oh, actually, you do need engineers again who can serve as like gatekeepers to like efficient usage of your resources, right? Where it's like you do need people that can manage like your token, like usage rates for these kinds of things. I'm sure that like we will come back around to that point where engineering time will become a moat again. I'm sure it will happen. I don't know when. Who fucking knows? Elon Musk is a trillionaire, so the world doesn't make sense, and certainly the market can remain irrational longer than I can remain solvent on this matter. But it does seem to be, and then because the other thing was fucking retail media, man, retail fucking media, where it's like the only real moats then that exist are data, which is why everybody is like pushing for retail media, because retail owners are the only ones with defensible, unique data. And then it's going to be services. There's another reason why the HoldCos are fucked, because none of them actually know how to provide decent service.
Yeah. Well, we got the retail media one right, didn't we?
Yeah. Also, because it's like that one's just like pure play competition. I am actually like a little bit like I do get a little bit fired up about the retail media piece, because that is like, I kind of miss the early days of like when we were at Vayner. It was like the 2014 to 2018 when like if you were genuinely better at executing, you could just go eat other people for fucking lunch. I kind of miss doing that. I want to do that again. And I think that you're going to be able to do that in retail media for a little while. But like, that's the only thing anymore. That's why Publicis spent however many fucking $1 billion on fucking LiveRamp. And WPP did on InfoSum, right? Is that like data like is the only thing that's going to be worth anything anymore, and then like client retention. Yeah.
I will say that was another one of the trends that I noticed, and a lot of the conversations that I had were around, not at that level or that level of sophistication of those multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, but businesses that have proprietary data that are trying to figure out what to do with it, and the capabilities and potential that AI unlocks with it, much like we've done with our 10,000 hours of research on challenger brands and the RAG that we built around that powers the agentic side of Rival Intelligence. But, conversations with social media platforms, with businesses that have a lot of consumer data? What can they do with that now that can enrich how they think about the rest of their marketing? And of course, I'm sure some of them are looking for other monetization channels from it as well.
I know that that's like what we're gonna have to spend the next however many years of our lives doing, is like doing those things like with people's data. But like it just feels like it's gonna be like another one of those cycles of like some massive amount of targeting data in media is fucking useless. Like the additional cost that it requires, like not only in like what it gets appended to your CPM, but the additional like processing costs, like data transfers, like additional media men that take whatever like things, like in many cases does not pay off in return on investment for these kinds of things. And like, we do not currently live in a world with a shortage of high quality analytical output. Like there is no data shortage. There has never been, like within our career lifetimes, there's never been a shortage of good, high quality data. There's been a shortage of people that know how to make good decisions with that data and like interpret it correctly. And I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. So I'm just very excited for this next iteration of, we're going to spend all this fucking money on this data and then we're not going to do anything with it because nobody knows what the fuck to do with it. But it's going to be more expensive this time. Because like the other thing is like, after like within a bunch of data sets, after a certain point, like it's like, you only need, I forget what the exact number is. Like if you have like a certain, like you only need like 5 individual points of data to identify a person, right? Like of like non-personally identifiable like information to identify a person. And then things after that are duplicative. They do not add anything into like the fidelity or like the capability of like your data to be predictive, like past a certain point where it's like, on like CSI where they're like enhance the image and like whatever else. And it's like, you can't fucking enhance what's not there, or like it doesn't matter if you enhance it anymore, you're not getting any more out of it. I'm just very excited for this newest version of the hamster wheel.
Well, data is the new oil. Did you hear that
I
one? Or
can't.
maybe that's 2016.
That was a long
was it
time
last
ago.
week
That
or it was
was a long time
2016?
ago.
I'm not sure.
Also, since the war in Iran, the world is off oil, so we're gonna have to get a new.
Data is the new oil.
salt.
What is the Strait of Hormuz? Should we talk about personalization? Because I know that was something else.
Oh,
that we
people are
talked about
down on
briefly.
personalization.
People are down on personalization.
Good.
We've been down on personalization for a while.
Yeah, it's
Called
like
it.
we know things.
Yeah,
we know
things.
things.
Do you want to explain? Or you want me to go?
Yeah, again, it's like, first of all, one-to-one personalization is a fucking myth for the exact fucking reasons that I've just laid out, of like, you will never ever be able to get to a point of like fidelity of service, like in delivery with your like data to like, also it's fucking creepy. Who the fuck wants to be followed around like in that like nature? People don't like that. But yeah, people are much more down on it. I think it is more contextual was like the big thing that I was hearing, was more contextual optimization probably rather than like personalization. But yeah, the idea that you were ever going to get to, oh my God, I won't name names, but a client that we both worked on early in our career, who was earlier in our career, who was obsessed with sequential storytelling, and like wanted to see like a narrative of his ads like laid out of like, I want to see the whole story of, first we see this one and then we see this one. And I'm like, no human being is going to experience your fucking ads like they're sitting through a movie. You will be lucky if they even remember one of these 7 exposures, and you're going to make me sit here and like jump through hoops to go through this. Like, first you're going to see this one, and then we're going to tell this story and then do these things. And I think personalization is some version of that fucking fairy tale, and I'm very glad that it's gone away.
I don't think it's gone away, but hopefully people are down.
Well, cyclically.
But the other thing that I will, and like what we've been saying for a while with all of the research on challenger brands, is like, obviously challenger brands do not have the budget or the resource to be able to do personalization at scale, but they've actually moved on from that. They've moved to kind of the community and the cultural based targeting to actually drive the word of mouth towards their audience as opposed to trying to reach them at scale. What else?
It was very hot and nobody talked about, like, I feel like tax constraints, they're going to have to fucking come.
Yeah.
Like, also, one of the things that I did not hear about, that I've seen about a little bit on LinkedIn, is the digital service taxes that have recently been added. So like, it's like 2%, I think, that Meta and Google have now started to append on ads like here, like in the UK. fucking taxes on digital services are coming in the EU. And I think not a lot of people were talking about it. And like 2% does not sound like a ton, but like thinking about like the margin and again, like select the commercial models like of a lot of places, I like, and especially like the razor thin margins of return on like some digital placements. Like, I don't think a lot of people are ready for that. Right now, like I say, it's digital service taxes, if we're being honest, that are retaliatory in nature and political on the basis of the EU versus the US. But like France is not fucking around with like net zero targets. And like there was just the case that just got decided that Total Energy needs to incorporate scope 3 emissions in their planning for these types of things. It was 37 degrees on the Croisette. There's no way the EU is not gonna like have to like start like levying taxes on like some of these like digital costs. And I don't think a lot of people are ready for it. I've heard almost nobody talking about the digital services taxes that have been put in place here in the UK.
Well, it'd be great if that also forces the industry to address just all the waste and fraud that's going on. I know that's one of the things that you mentioned at our Bloomberg event was like that report from Cloudflare that said that now the majority of internet traffic is bot, not human.
Yeah.
So how much does that contribute to all these problems? Like hopefully we can take that out of the system as well. But I think you're right. Like and I didn't even think about it till now, but the regulatory conversation was pretty absent, both around that, but also around AI. I mean, we've got the regulations coming in on AI disclosures in advertising like this summer. And nobody was really talking about that, much less the bigger picture of what happens when all these copyright issues get resolved for the big brands and the big agencies that are putting out all of this content using this technology and not knowing what the future regulation is going to be.
It's almost like that shit's a downer and people don't want to talk about that over champagne, maybe. I don't know. It could have something to do with it. Do you really want to talk about that on a yacht? Do you want to talk about taxes on a yacht?
I mean, that would be ironic, wouldn't it? I did not go on a boat this year, actually.
I went on an island this year, so suck it, dude.
I do think there's something about like, and maybe we should do this next year. We always say that we're going to do stuff and then we don't. But there's something about like the real conversations that people aren't happening. And my other idea, which I know I said to you in one of my like frustrated moments of like going from panel to panel and hearing the same bullshit, is like there's got to be like, I would love some type of session where everybody in the audience gets a buzzer, and if it's something that they've heard before, they get to press the button.
I'm telling you, dude.
I know that it wouldn't work, but like something to that extent.
I hate to tell you, but I have these conversations well, I didn't go to Gutter Bar this year, but people have these conversations at Gutter Bar. You're just not getting invited to those because you're a dork. I'm not a dork, and people have those conversations with me.
But I'm talking about like on stage.
Oh, okay. Well,
like on the like
no, people
the beaches
won't,
and all
people
that.
won't, I mean, like that's just, people won't have those things. Like there's value in it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we've thrown a couple back. Like, hey man, like what if you really, you gotta do both. You gotta do both.
I had some really interesting meetings with the actual Cannes Lion team that are looking to do a lot more with challenger brands and in the challenger space. So that's hopefully something that we're going to be working with them on.
Was this the first year that it was Cannes Lions bought? Who was the fucking
Informa? They're owned by Informa now.
Oh, okay.
But that was interesting.
Branding.
And I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of like the more things change, the more they stay the same for me. How do I make that more helpful? I just think that and I guess this makes sense, but it just feels like so much of the industry is just kind of like following slowly, and there's very few people that are actually like putting new and different and progressive points of view out there. But I guess that's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know. We talk about this like all the time, right? Of like, there really just is not that much, right? Like, there really is not that much like net new.
How could there not be that much net new with everything that is changing right now?
Because it takes time. It just takes a long time.
But if more things are changing and they're changing faster, then there should be more net new. Maybe more, it's still relatively small, but there should be more.
Well, but this is the thing is like, I mean, again, it's like, I'm 100% not going to stake out the position that like AI is like not like is not earth shattering or whatever, but it follows a logical progression, right? It's like we all stand on the shoulders of giants. It's the same thing of like, this is the sort of like natural inclination, these things, the internet felt this way. I don't have enough history. I guess maybe it would have been like the fax machine. No, that's not quite it. No, in the 80s, it would have been the consolidation of media, right? Like it would have been the holding company model would have been like the big thing, like in the 80s, right? Of like every generation and like career group like has these kinds of things. I think that this is just the standard like pace of change. It feels fast because we're in it, but like we had this conversation in the early days of AI when I was like, listen, calm the fuck down. Media has been bought on machine learning, for however long it is. This is new. The applications of it are different for all these like kinds of things. But I just think that there's not all that much that's like really different. It's that, there's a marginal 10 to 20%, but within that, like there's a lot of risk and there's a lot of people that take risks, and risk is not cheap anymore. Money is not free. That's my other takeaway.
Yeah.
Money is not free anymore. We are not living in 0% interest times. I feel like that was my other thing. I think most things were very scaled down. The Meta Beach was pretty scaled down. I felt like the Sport Beach was pretty scaled down. Like I felt like everything was like a little bit. I saw fewer helicopters this year.
Yeah.
Fewer beef-based free appetizers.
More tofu.
More tofu, a little bit less protein, if we're being honest. I was really on the protein kick and really looking out for my protein, and I felt like the quality of the fresh fruit and the protein.
And we only had one steak tartare, and it was subpar.
It was awful. Oh, Hotel Martinez, if you see this, inedible steak tartare, bone chips, incredibly overdressed. It was awful. It was outrageous.
But the espresso martinis were
excellent, but they were certainly not worth whatever we paid for them, which was like 28 euros.
Too much.
Yeah.
And of course, it was our first year speaking.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Did the Challenger Roundtable, had 2 events this year. The official speaking slot with Cannes, which was amazing. Bringing together some Challenger brands, talking about the Challenger playbook, the Rival 50.
Oven.
Oh my God. On the roof of the Palais. No fans, but man, I don't know how the Cannes team did that all day, every day.
How do they not have first dibs on those fucking spritzer fans?
They had that little like air conditioning
This is
pod.
our branded, I shouldn't say this on camera. Our branded activation should be the spritzer fans. We need this fucking spritzer fans.
The IV bags.
I'm tired of getting the little handheld ones. Like I get those every year and I never remember to pack it like next year. But like the ones that like stay in place that will like spray you with a little bit of water. We need to get our logo on those.
Let's see if we can get permitting for that.
Yeah, that was a fucking.
And we have the Bloomberg event. So
Bloomberg
brought
event
together, was it 18 people in Bloomberg space
Yeah.
with their chief content officer from Bloomberg Intelligence, talking about kind of macro trends, what that means for CMOs. So that was good. So it was nice to have a little recognition, a little official presence this year.
And access to air conditioning.
Yes, speaker lounge.
That
changed everything.
That did change everything. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty great.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me. Anything else from you?
No.
Until next year, then. Scratch is a production of Rival. We are a growth consultancy that builds challenger brands, strategies, and capabilities to disrupt categories. If you want to learn more about us, check out wearerival.com. If you want to connect with me, email me at eric@wearerival.com or find me on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, share with anyone you think might enjoy it, and leave us a review. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.